Hey guys, and welcome back to Cultured Boys, a show where two guys just want to have a chat. And this week for Spooktober, we're doing the best Treehouse of Horrors. How you doing, Peps? You ready?
I'm good, man. I've been preparing for this because I realized it's been a while since I've actually watched any episodes of Simpsons in general that weren't just like repeats on Channel 4 or something like that. So it's kind of good to get back into it, you know. Like when I was like rewatching some of these, like it kind of gave me a little bit of childhood nostalgia. Like looking back at them, I was like, oh, I remember that episode, or I remember this one. But yeah, I'm good to talk about like basically like all of our favorite ones, some of the other ones which we like may not have found so favorite, I guess. Like, it's just a general discussion about the whole
Yeah.
the whole nightmare of I was gonna say Nightmare Before Christmas, lol. Treehouse of Horror. So yeah, good to get into it, mate.
Oh, wicked. I'm just so happy to be back on some more Simpsons content.
It's been a while since we've done one of these because I think we did a Simpsons retrospective. Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
is that last year as well? I don't think it was even
That
this
was,
year. Yeah,
that was part of our first year of content.
Yeah, I remember that. I think we were just like trying to like, oh, let's talk about things we want to talk about, and that was one of them.
Wow, that was way far back.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
That was episode. That's episode like 20 something.
So, so yeah, it's been a hot minute since we've done a Simpsons related one. But yeah, okay. So off the bat, Nathan, like, how many of these have you watched?
So I watched on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
and Disney Plus it only goes up to season 32.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen basically all the ones available on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So I believe that goes to 31 maybe.
Yeah.
I've only noted down to 30.
Yeah.
Like, so I only put down the ones that had something in it that I liked.
Yeah.
I haven't noted down every single episode. I didn't even think to put down the ones that I thought were meh.
Yeah, I'm just like, because I've got the whole list up here of like all of the episodes, all of the like individual stories and stuff like that. And I didn't get as far as you. I got up to about Treehouse of Horror 19, I believe. Yeah, I got up to 19. So that was season 20.
Okay.
That was only 2008. That's the funny thing about that. I watched all those
Wow.
Treehouse Horrors, and that's only 2008 I got up to.
Oh, wow. That's kind of mind-boggling if you think about it. Jesus.
Yeah, the first one aired in October 1990.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense because the first one was in season 2, I
Yep,
believe.
that's the one. Wow, man. Yeah. But anyway, go on, Nathan. You start us off. Like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to talk about one of your favorites, or do you want to talk about like any of?
I want to mention. I guess I'll start off with all of my favorites are quite like early on,
Oh yeah, 100%. I agree.
like under 20.
Yeah.
So like after that, the only one I noted down was Treehouse of Horror 30,
Yeah.
and that's just because they did a Stranger Things parody,
Okay. Yeah.
and that was it. I didn't find it particularly interesting
Mm-hmm.
or that entertaining, but I was just sort of like, because like Stranger Things, the whole hype at the moment in it. So I was just like, oh, cool, Stranger Things. That was it.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I wrote it down. And I don't remember what else is in that episode. That was the only thing I noted down about Treehouse of Horror 30.
Yeah. Number 30 is it? Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
Danger Things. It's cool. Yeah.
Literally.
Okay, yeah. When Harry met Slimy, heaven swipes right. Yeah, as I said, I've only watched up to a certain amount of these sort of things. So, like, how was that then? How was the Stranger Things one? Because obviously, this is their bread and butter, right? This is them just like Treehouse Horror is them parodying loads of different like horror things or coming up with their own ones. But like, hey, how was this as a Stranger Things fan?
It was okay. Like
Yeah,
I sort of straight away knew it was Stranger Things.
yeah,
Even though it's like it was doing that thing where it's sort of mostly Stranger Things and then they throw in maybe something else.
yeah.
But it was like 4 kids, they were playing some video games and then they left, and then Milhouse is Will. So, riding his bike home, and all of a sudden he gets attacked by something, and then they're in the Upside Down, and then Lisa is also Elle, and it was I mean, they flipped it on its head, and like the Upside Down in the episode is like actually good.
Okay.
Because they were like, instead, like all the Demogorgons are like, oh yeah, like the school system here is great and housing is cheap. There's plenty of houses, like, 'cause nobody wants to be here. So then they just like move to the upside down.
Okay, yeah.
So they flip it on its head like that, but it was okay.
Yeah, I think there's a certain point in the Treehouse of Horrors, and I think it's just the standard of The Simpsons as well,
Yeah.
where it just gets okay. Like, I think there's a lot of really funny ones early on, and then it gets to a certain point where you're like, okay, yeah, that's it's fine. I think it like I can probably tell you like the line of where I just thought like, okay, yeah, this is just a bit meh now. I think it is around season 15, season 16, because not gonna lie, this is actually where I turned off of watching The Simpsons. Like, you know, like it used to be like, oh, every week there's a new episode on Sky or whatever back in the day.
Yeah.
Like that, I think it was around season 16, season 15, where I just like didn't really care for keeping up with it at all.
Fair.
I think that is literally why, like, because watching further on from those episodes, I was like, these are just very okay, and I'm not really finding them as funny as like the older ones.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But yeah, that's fair. Like, I'm just gonna say like one of my favorite ones, like straight away. It's the one where like Homer enters the 3D world.
Oh yeah, okay, I've got that noted down. That's
Yeah.
Treehouse of Horror 6.
Treehouse Horror 6, yeah, that's
And that's the last story of that one too. That's Homer Cube.
Homer Cube. I love that one. That was so good because I think the reason why as well is because back in the day, like the concept of having anything 3D that was 2D was like, whoa, that's mad. Like, I can't wait to see that or whatever. And then this was like The Simpsons in 3D, well, Homer at least in 3D and part of Bart as well. And then when he went into that weird third dimension place, like, I think it was like the look of it, like the whole dynamic of it looked just so weird, and that's why I loved it as a kid as well. That kind of contribute because I loved all like the weird like.
I'll be like, it's funny watching it now because you're like, man, we've come a long way, right? Because like that 3D world is what you'd imagine like a tech demo was back in the day, you know, like it's got like the Tron like lines, and then it's got like random 3D shapes and like a building, but it's like that Roman style, you know, like temple where it's got like the pillars and stuff, and you're like, it's such a tech demo just to be like, look at what we can do. And you're like, and you're just like, wow, mind blown. Oh my god, look at all the 3D.
I'll tell you what as well, like what really like stuck with me with this is that I don't even remember back in the day, you know, the IMAX in London.
Yeah.
The big like massive IMAX theater that they have. Like when I was a kid, at one point they had like a 3D showcase where they just basically they put like 3D glasses on you and you basically experience the whole IMAX 3D thing. And in that selection of like all these 3D things, they actually played that episode of Simpsons, not the whole episode, just Homer Cubed. But they actually played that, and it was like, whoa! I actually like you see the 3D in 3D, like as much as it could be. It wasn't like amazing, blowing away kind of stuff, but it's still good.
I mean, like not just Homer Cube, like that. I've also noted down that whole episode because like the other stories in like 6 are pretty good too.
Yeah,
like Attack of the 50-foot eyesores, the one where Homer steals Lard Lad's donut, and all the like, you know, like signs and statues come to life and just start fucking shit up.
And they come with the song that's like, just don't look, just don't look. That's the one thing with Simpsons, like they always come through with a decent song every now and then, and that was like one of them. That was like, I remember that. Even though it's just for like a minute or less than a minute, it's like, yeah, I still remember it.
Oh mate, that was that one was good. And Nightmare on Evergreen Terrace.
Yeah, that's good. That was because that's where Groundskeeper Willie is basically like Freddy Krueger in it.
Yeah, pretty much.
And like I remember the flashback of it. You know, like where they're like, "Oh yeah, how did Groundskeeper Willie end up doing this?" It's like, "Oh yeah, like because he was in the school and then like he got like put in the furnace or whatever."
It was on the 13th day of the 13th month.
That's it. Damn smart weather. That's one of those lines that's always stuck with me. It was just like...
Well, it's that, and then it's like, somebody help me, I'm on fire. Willie, please, Mr. Van Houten has the floor. I would just like to have the lunch menu in advance so that parents can line up their dinner menus. I don't like the idea of Millhouse having 2 pasta meals in one day.
It's just yeah. Oh, and then
Willie's just sat there
just
like
sat
on fire, isn't it? Like reading a magazine, and you're just like, what the fuck? Man?
That was so good. Oh, I love that. Yeah, you're right. That whole episode is sick. Like, that's definitely one of my favorite ones. And then
those early ones are so good because the next one I've written down after that, the next earliest one is 7.
Oh yeah,
and that's one of your favorite quotes.
I
That's
know.
Citizen Kang.
That you was gonna bring up next. Citizen Kang is like definitely one of the things. I just say it like every like month or whatever. Like I was, where do we want to go? Not forwards, not backwards, not sideways or diagonal, not upwards, but twirling towards freedom. It's honestly like just the twirling towards freedom is like one of my all-time greatest Simpsons lines.
And it's also there's some lines I don't remember listening to as a kid. It's like it's a 2-party system.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'll vote for a third candidate.
Throw your vote away.
Yeah.
It's something that as a kid you'd be like, whatever, I don't get that.
Well, yeah, I don't understand.
As an adult, you're like, fuck it, hell. They just go along with it as well. They don't even. It's so good. Love that.
I mean, that's also the same Treehouse of Horrors with Hugo, Bart, and his Siamese twin. I forgot that was in that one. Like, I remember that episode or that little story, but like I didn't remember they were in the same one.
No, I like this. That's the one thing with watching him back to back. You're like, oh, is this what? Like, I wouldn't have ever put 2 episodes together, apart from one episode, which I feel that you're going to bring up in a bit. But
oh, that one I'll say for last.
Yeah, because like that's the thing. When you watch him back to back, you like when you watch him as a kid, you're like, oh, okay, cool, it's like this episode or whatever. But you don't necessarily put the individual stories in a block together. But like, obviously, like watching them all like this, you're like, oh, okay, this was in this one and this was this one. And as you go along as well, you do see like the animation get better and better, like from the first one to like I don't know, like number 20 or whatever.
I mean, that's just as things get easier and evolve.
Yeah, I mean, it's 18 years later, you'd hope that animation gets better. But I mean, it's better than season 1 animation. Let's put it that way. Which,
yeah, true.
Season 1 animation actually wasn't that bad, but it
wasn't.
It's just the character yeah.
It's not as like it could have been worse, right? Because like, what's it? I didn't note it down, but there's one of the later ones where the story is like the Simpsons are being haunted, and then they do a seance, and then it's the original Simpsons, like the ones before season 1.
Oh,
and they're the ghosts.
Okay, yeah.
And they still animate it in the same way. The characters move in the way they did pre-season 1.
That's really cool, actually.
In that sense, you can see exactly how far we got because that was quite late as well.
Yeah. That's mad. Okay, yeah. Because I remember, like, I know it's obviously not on that same level, but what is it, the clone one? I can't remember what it's called now. The one where Homer clones himself when he jumps into the hammock.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what the episode was called itself.
I don't remember what one.
It's probably like I don't know, something of the clones, right? It's got to be like whatever.
But
getting away from the point, when Homer clones himself like about 1 million times or whatever, there is that like they have those like odd little like characters in the background, like Peter's in there at one point, like Peter Griffin, and then like suddenly the old Homer pops up and says, "Let's go for frosty chocolate milkshakes." And I was like, hey, I remember that. That was the thing. But I tell you what, as well, what really surprised me is how early on. Like the Raven and the Bad Dream House and the Hungry and the Damned. I didn't think that was the first one. Like I just assumed it was like further on or something. But that was the first Treehouse of Horror, and I had no clue.
Yeah, I always thought that was after Monkey's Paw. I don't know why I always thought Monkey's Paw was like one of the first, like the first one, even though it's Treehouse of Horrors 2.
Yeah, like. It's Treehouse of Horrors 2, only Monkey's Paw's only number 2. That's mad.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you're saying, like we've seen so many of these that you just sort of remember the one sketch / story.
Yeah.
And then when you watch him like this, you're like, wait, that was there?
Yeah.
Because like I mixed up the one where Homer gets Mr. Burns' head attached to him. That's also two. That's Frankenstein.
That's so early. I didn't realize that.
And I mixed that one up with, you know, when they go into Mr. Burns because Maggie like goes into the giant pill that Frank shrinks down, Burns eats it, and then Homer he enlarges inside Mr. Burns. I always mix those two up, thinking that one is earlier than Frankenstein.
That's like a proper late. That's like mid to Treehouse as well. Yeah.
Yeah, right. That's the crazy thing. But I'm always like, no, they're like right together, I swear. And it's like, no, they could not be further apart.
Yeah, literally. So, like, I think that was like one of the last ones I watched, like, day to day as a kid or whatever. And like you said, like we never really had like a concept of like, oh, this one came before this one, because I never knew which season of Simpsons was which. Like, you just switch the TV on and a Simpsons episode would be playing. You wouldn't be like, oh, this is from season 7, or oh, this is like season 2. Like, you just put it on and that's it.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, we quote that freaking that episode, like, what was it, where Milhouse's dad tries to win back his mum, or whatever, Milhouse's parents split up. And we quote that all the time. I couldn't tell you what season that is.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah, I have no clue what season that is. And like, that's the one thing with these, is that I've watched all of these now, and like, yeah, some of them surprised me at how early they're on, but at the same time, I'm like, I had no concept of where these were placed. Like, obviously I had the numerals at the start, but would I pay attention to something like that as a kid? Hell no. I barely want to figure out Roman numerals. Yeah.
As a kid, I don't think I learned Roman numerals till I was like 11.
Mate.
So how many of those had you watched by that time? You know what I mean? Like, by the time you realize, oh, that's a number.
I only try and figure out from RPGs, to be honest. Like, JRPGs, suddenly throw them on the cover, and like, I'm supposed to guess what that is. And then I just learned from there. Like, probably that in Star Wars, actually, because Star Wars always used Roman.
Oh yeah, that too.
But no, yeah, that was. This is one thing as well with that Frankenstein episode that you mentioned, with where Homer gets his head, Burns' head gets put on Homer.
Yeah.
I thought that was a longer thing. I didn't realize that was just at the end.
Yeah, that's really short, isn't it?
Like, for some reason, I thought that was a longer sketch for what it was, or longer part of the episode.
No, I'm with you on that. I remember it being much, much longer than that.
Yeah. Even, like, it was practically about, like, 30 seconds within that whole, like, episode. Like, I think it was like 15 seconds of Homer waking up with Burns' head on.
Yeah.
And then another 15 seconds of like him at the breakfast table, and like him and Burns are having a conversation or whatever. And that was over so quickly. I was like, oh, okay. I was expecting more from this, but fair.
That episode or that sketch has one of my favorite like lines as well. Because you know they're like, oh, let's go to the graveyard. Oh, quick, Smithers, an open grave. And he's like, you know, like pulling Homer in a sack in it. And Smithers is like, sir, I think it's still alive. Oh, shut up. And then he gets the shovel and just starts beating Homer in the back. Bad body. Stop scaring Smithers.
Yeah. Stop scaring Smithers.
Like, I've remembered that.
Yeah.
Like, since childhood, because I just always thought that was so funny. And every time I watch that episode and I see that, I just can't help but laugh.
He was just proper slapstick in it. That's he's like, yeah, just
Mr. Burns goes from like 0 to 100 in this episode. He's like got all the strength in the world like that, and then at the end he's like a frail old man who can't run away from the fucking giant robot about to collapse. And you're like, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like 20 seconds ago he was beating the crap out of Homer with a shovel with like full force.
Adrenaline? I don't know.
I don't know, but it's like
Simpsons in it, so it's gonna be like
that's one of my favorite lines. And there's speaking of lines, I don't know if the Disney Plus are like the unedited or they are just the TV versions. Because in Treehouse of Horror 14, in Reaper Madness, the one where Homer becomes the new Grim Reaper,
yeah,
I don't remember this line. Moe is trying to off himself.
Yeah.
And the pizza guy walks in and he's like, your money's on the counter, there's no tip. And the pizza guy comes back with, you miserable bastard. And Mo goes, that's why I'm up here. I don't remember any of that exchange.
It must have been cut out, because realistically that is quite I don't remember that either, but maybe I like just didn't pay attention to it as a kid, or like I wasn't.
Well, I'm thinking like that must not have been the TV edit, right? Because there's no way we watched that on
No,
TV.
absolutely not.
I remember the whole like Mo bit, as in like, you know, because it's Mo,
Yeah.
but I don't remember him being like, money's on the counter, no tip. You miserable bastard. Yeah, that's why I'm up here.
Yeah, I don't remember that either, like honestly. But to be fair, I just about remember the Mo bit when it came on screen. If you asked me to point it out before this episode or whatever, I probably would have forgotten it. It triggered a memory watching it, don't get me wrong, I do remember it, but like if you were to get to ask me to do certain dialogues from that episode. That was actually from the same episode of The Clones, by the way. I just realized. Sending the clones.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, yeah. Is it?
No, I don't think so, because that's also the one with Frankenstein, where Professor Frink revives his dad.
Yeah. Oh, no, okay. Sending the Clones is the one before. So I was looking at season 14 rather than episode 14.
Oh, 13.
Yeah, okay, fair.
I mean, saying that, Frankenstein's a good one too. I remember that from being a kid.
I do remember, because I couldn't remember it at first, and I was like, oh, is this actually like branching into new episodes I haven't seen before? And then it got to when I saw his dad, and I was like, okay, yeah, I remember this now. But yeah, I think that was like branching into the ones where I'm kind of like, okay, cool, this is fun to watch, but I'm not laughing as much.
I think Frankenstein was at least in that episode, the first two are good, and then the last one, Stop the World, I Want to Goof Off, that one's not as good.
Yeah. Which one is that? Is that when they like get the stopwatch? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one with the stopwatch, and that one's like, okay.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, they've got a stopwatch, they freeze time and whatever. It's just, yeah, it feels like a Simpsons episode with some spooky connotations. Even then, spooky connotations is a bit far.
Yeah, I mean...
It's the one before that I thought was really good, though. What was it? The Isle of Dr. Hibbert?
Oh, yes.
That was a really good one. I remember that.
That's such a classic one. Oh my god.
Yeah. I remember the whole concept of the story, but I didn't actually remember any of the lines in it.
I don't remember any of the lines either.
So there was one point where Flanders comes out of the shed.
Oh, yeah.
And Homer's just having a conversation with him. He's like, Flanders, what are you doing here? Oh, I just came for a retreat or whatever. Homer, can I ask you a favor? He's like, okay, what is it? Milk me. And Homer starts doing it. He's like, yeah, that's the good stuff. It was just like, fucking hell, this is weird. But it's also really funny. It's the way Flanders says milk me. Because like you never really hear him like go into any weird voice or whatever apart from his normal one. It's like, milk me is the one that just sent me.
Speaking of Flanders, what's that? There's that one, where he goes and Homer like is throwing a bowling ball to get a frisbee down. It hits Flanders in the head, and then Flanders could see the future, but how people are gonna die. Like it's at the end when he's like, must kill best friend, like that whole end bit, like Homer, do not press the core destruct button, press core destruct button, kill everyone.
They just like shrug it, and then it's just that felt like classic Simpsons. And I think arguably this is the one where like probably one of the last ones actually I found funny. Because then after that one, it's BI, Artificial Intelligence, Survival of the Fattest, and I've grown a costume to your face.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, those all ones are like, yeah, it's quite funny in like concepts or whatever, but like, I didn't, that to me is where it all kind of went downhill. I also didn't realize, right, how often Kang and Kodos were in these episodes.
Dude, they appear in almost every single one.
They appear in every one. I didn't realize that. I thought they were just like, that they pop up every now and then, but they literally are in every single episode.
I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if they are brought in for that specific reason. Like that was. I don't know if like that's their first episode, Hungry Are the Damned, because that's the one where Kang and Kodos.
I think it is actually.
First appear. I think it might be.
I mean, it would make sense if that was.
Yeah. and then they just continue to go on from there, and then they just became a staple of the whole series. Like,
well, yeah, pretty much, because like every episode is just like something happens, and then it like zooms out, and Kang and Kodos are like watching from their ship.
yeah,
Except for that one intro where they did it as if it was like a variety show or something, and like Kang and Kodos were the hosts. I thought that was kind of funny. Like some of the intros are better than the actual like episode, especially in the later ones.
yeah. What was that one where like I can't remember later? Like which, like in what terms of which are later ones?
Well, like there's one where Maggie is the devil. Literally, like she's a spawn of Satan.
Okay, yeah.
And it feels like it's really long, and then it like cuts out, and it literally is the intro to episode 30.
Okay.
Some of the intros are quite long. You think it's an episode in itself, but the actual intro is like a more scary, better thing than the actual episode content, which is weird.
Yeah, that's I can't really speak because I obviously haven't seen them, but like there's like some like they had like the running theme sometimes. Like the one that I remember, like in terms of intros, that sticks out to me because obviously like in the first few, they kind of make it like they come out behind the curtain and say,
yeah,
oh, this episode's really scary, you should watch this or whatever. So like they kind of stuck with that for the first like 3 or 4, and then there was one where like Bart's introing and then like he's just showing off different paintings.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah, and then like what was it? I think there's just a picture of the dogs playing poker, and it's like, well, I couldn't find one for this episode, but here you go. And then it's
yeah, then it's all like they're dogs and they're playing poker.
That was good.
Oh man,
I was like flicking through some of these as well. Just like, I'm just gonna name off a few that are like my favorite. The Nightmare Cafeteria one is also one of my favorites.
Oh yeah,
like that's where like they start eating, the teachers start eating the students because like Jimbo just happens to fall into like one of the things and falls into one of the cafeteria thing. I can't remember what.
I love Uta in that.
Yeah, that's my favorite bit.
Yeah, can I have another sloppy Jimbo?
And it's like, oh, that's your second one today, young man, or something like that. And then like they just said it's like they just eat him. They're like, okay, let's eat him.
It's like Oktoberfest day or something.
Yeah, and then like Lisa and Bart are like, yeah, don't you think it's kind of strange that like we're like eating Uda burgers or eat Uda burgers? And then like Skinner comes over like, oh, there's nothing mysterious here. You could say we're eating Uda. Retract that last one. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. I like that one because that's one that's stuck in my mind a little bit. There's any other ones? Citizen Kang, yeah, love that. Yeah, I think that's, to be fair, that's a lot of the ones that I remember that I enjoyed. I'm just keep flicking through them. I'm just trying to find any others that I think will like stand out. But I think I've listed all of them.
Well, whilst you do that, I'll get to my absolute number one, never dethroned.
To be fair, I think like I've listed off all my favorites. So yeah, go for it, mate. We'll talk about because I think this is something that you quote a lot, and I'm just like
this is just like my life.
Yeah,
this lives rent free all the time. I love it.
Yeah.
Treehouse of Horrors number 12. It's the Leprechaun. It's 2001: A Space Odyssey and Harry Potter. That is the one. That's the best one in my opinion.
Yeah. Which one's Hex in the City again? What is that?
So that's the Leprechaun. So
that's the Leprechaun one. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
That's so I didn't actually remember the premise of the Leprechaun episode. I just remember it being there.
Yeah.
But that one in itself was probably, I mean, to me, that was like on par with the Harry Potter one.
Yeah.
But basically, that's where they go to a fortune teller.
Mm-hmm.
She's like a gypsy, and then she curses Homer. So then they're like, oh, how do I break the curse? You got to find a leprechaun. And then I'm pretty sure like the leprechaun might appear in The Simpsons before that. But it starts appearing subsequently more and more in like Treehouse of Horrors after that.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's just the little angry Irish thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I sort of remembered that the leprechaun and the gypsy got together, but I don't know why I remember that.
Like, I kind of do remember like parts of this episode. Like, when it came on, I was like, okay, yeah. There's like I'm getting flashbacks of it, right? When I first watched it, I was like, okay, yeah, I remember it. Like, I remember like Marge like growing a beard and then like
Yeah.
becoming like, and then one of the lines that did catch me off guard was like, oh, everyone when the leprechaun and the gypsy get married or whatever, and then they're like, oh, everyone live happily ever after, and then Marge's like, Bart's dead. It's like, oh yeah, because he just drowned in his cereal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah, that was like there's some of these which I'll let you carry on with like some of the others as well, like because I do remember them.
Oh, I mean, like the middle one, like the 2001 Space Odyssey parody, is like the big one for that episode. Like, at least that's how I feel. Like, because that's the one I always remember.
Yeah,
Because that one is just, I don't know, like it was actually a decent story, and it was kind of like creepy. And I guess like the more we progress in technology, like we're getting closer and closer to that.
yeah.
Just like these magical fucking AI houses that will probably end up killing someone.
In fairness, like this with this one as well, with the Space Odyssey one, like it kind of like did give me the creeps a little bit rewatching it. Only because like I didn't realize how like was it Pierce Brosnan's like AI thing really just kind of creeped me out a little bit. The way it was like so like well spoken or whatever.
Yeah, well that's what makes it like so good, isn't it? Like cuz he really sells it. Especially like I mean, it's not even anything funny, but I always thought it was funny like when Marge goes to take a bath
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, oh my."
So I think that's one of the bits that just really weirded me out. I was just like, I don't know, it just like gave me the creeps a little bit.
I mean, it does weird you out,
Yeah.
but again, like I think that's why that whole bit, like that whole episode part, sells it. That's why I think it's the best one because it's like believable,
Yeah.
and like Pierce Brosnan really kind of sells that part.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that. Like, I forget like how many celebrity cameos they have in this as well. Like, I do remember this.
Oh, dude, they have so many.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just like throwaway ones as well. Like they're not actually doing anything at all. And other times it's just a name drop.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's not. They don't even have the actual celebrity. They just name drop one.
And it's just like the design of the character just randomly in the background somewhere. But yeah, then last one is the Harry Potter one.
I mean, that's only good for the one fucking part, and that's right at the beginning, pretty much.
This is one of the
The
episodes.
Frog Princes,
Yeah, the Frog
like-
Prince, yeah.
Like that's it. Like that's the whole episode. But it, like that one bit like sells everything.
It's so true. Like this whole like the Frog Prince where Bart like messed up the spell and it's just like they're like like spewing like acid like or was it like or vomit all over like the other princes and stuff. It is funny. It's funny. But okay, this is the one thing about this, Nathan, because I remember this being your favorite episode. When it came on, I was like, okay, this is the one he wants to talk about. And it does have some amazing one-liners and stuff. I like some amazing like bits, but honestly, this is one of those ones where I think in terms of like grouped together like all the different episodes or whatever, like I didn't actually think overall this is one of the best ones they've done. I had some amazing ones, don't get me wrong, but like overall, I was just a bit like, okay.
I mean, fair enough. Like to be honest, I only like this is my favorite episode just because of that the credit sequence. Pierce Brosnan one's probably the only one in there that's worth watching, really.
Yeah.
But it's just my favorite because like the whole package sells it well. But I agree with you. I don't actually think it's like the best one if like objectively. But it's like my favorite one regardless.
Yeah.
I actually think personally that 7 is in terms of stories packaged together, I actually think that one's better.
Yeah.
Because that's, again, it's Bart and his Siamese twin, and that one's actually kind of creepy. Citizen Kang, which is funny. The Genesis tub is good. Like, that one is, like, a good, like, package.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think that's. I was gonna say number 7 is probably one of my favorite. Only just plus it has the twirling towards freedom line. That's always gonna be a winner.
I mean, is that and also like even
Yeah.
there's some funny even like in The Thing and I the first one with the Bart and his twin.
Oh my god.
There's some funny parts in that, like at the end where Dr. Hibbert's like, Hugo, stop. Don't you want to look at your reflection? And it's just an empty frame. He holds it up, and it just punches the kid like, through
I was
the
going to
frame.
mention, I completely forgot about it until that moment when I watched the episode recently. I was like, fucking hell. It really did catch me off guard as well.
You know, when you think you're a doctor, you could have injected him with something, you could have anything. No, you just straight up just sucker punch the kid.
My favorite thing about that though is where Hugo looks at the frame is just Dr. Hibbert's face, like stone
straight
cold,
face, yeah.
and then the fist just comes
Wow.
That honestly caught me off guard so much. And there's like the bucket of fish heads thing as well. That
Oh yeah, like, or like, even still, like, it's right before Hibbert comes up. It's like Hugo's gonna sew him back together, and Bart's like, "Are you crazy? You're gonna kill us?" No, I've been practicing. See, I made a pigeon rat.
That's what you gotta mention that as. I forgot how good that one was because it's one of those ones I was like, oh yeah, it's a bit weird, but Hugo gets stitched together or whatever. But then it's the little one-liners that just really just like make it like so good.
Yeah, so like, if you're talking about objectively ones that are packaged better, like every single one hits, I would say 7 is probably the objectively best one.
Yeah,
but it's not my favorite. So,
no, yeah, just
although if I had to say, it probably is like a really close second.
yeah,
It's a really, really good one.
there's like looking through all these, like I think there's like certain ones as well, like Clown Without Pity is a good one, but it's all like because that's the one where what was it? They get the Krusty doll and it's set to evil.
Oh yeah,
but they buy it from that guy, that merchant, which is like, I warn you, this doll is cursed.
but it comes with Frogurt.
The Frogurt is also cursed.
But you get your choice of toppings.
Yeah. I can't remember what because there's another line after that.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I just remember
that
like
was really good. I remember
that guy was hilarious.
Yeah,
just because it was always just the added, like those added lines.
Yeah,
I also sell frozen yogurt, which I call Frogurt.
Yeah,
Everything is because it's the complete switch in the line reads. It's like everything is cursed, and I sell Frogurt. Like.
But yeah, that's fair. I think there's a whole bunch of ones we can just keep on talking on about, but like realistically, like overall, in my opinion, I think the early ones are better. I can't judge. I've like it gets to a certain point where I just kind of switched off. Like,
Nah, I can definitely say the early ones are the good ones. And the later it gets, the more to me it became background noise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's not just because I tried to binge watch it all in a day. They are literally like, they just don't have that same sort of oomph or magic, you know, like it's not quite the same as it used to be. And I think it's because they don't have some of those like crazier concepts, some of those crazier line reads, you know, all the things that we've literally just said we enjoy.
Yeah.
There's less and less of those like quick throwaway lines that sort of shock the system and then you laugh because you're like, oh my God, like that's crazy. They get further and further away from that. And I think that's just because after a while, like, you know, the rating and like censorship and stuff gets tougher as the years go on. It's just how it is. Kind of sucks in a way though, because it feels like it's like missing something, you know?
Absolutely, yeah. I think like as you look at them as well, there's some of them which I just don't even parody horror anymore. It's just parodies random films.
Yeah.
And they probably that, and there's some of them which I feel like it kind of like lets down a little because one of them is just Toy Story, and it's just like
Oh, there's plenty of those. There's like one of them's just Avatar.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I mean, Avatar's not even scary. Toy Story isn't scary. I mean, granted, the Toy Story one, I will say, at least they did it in their own way because Bart is Sid. There was no way you could do that and be like, oh, Bart loves his toys. Look at him. He's like Andy. Like, we all know that's like, would never fly.
Yeah.
It's not true to the characters.
Absolutely. It's just one of those ones where I think it's just saying what everyone says about The Simpsons, that the earlier episodes are the best ones. And it just is. That's how it be.
I mean, yeah, it's true. But by this point, you know, 34 seasons, you know, countless episodes, it gets hard. I mean, like, we can attest to that. Like, it's a struggle sometimes, you know? Like, sometimes you've got banger ideas and other times you're like, yeah, it's all right.
I mean, yeah, it's like been going for like over like 30 years now. So, like, fair play. Like, fair play for him to keep on going.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I can't really say more than that. Like, fair play to him. That's all I can say. I just realized though, in like episode 34, the one that's coming up this October, it's a Death Note parody.
Ooh.
It's called Lease Anime. But yeah, I can only just imagine what that's gonna look like, and I'm kind of curious a bit. But
I wonder if they'll rip on the Netflix one.
well, if it says Lease Anime, I don't know. Maybe it is just like a parody of just Death Note in general, and it probably just will be like some random anime references as well thrown in. I can
Maybe. They might also, hopefully, the Netflix thing will be just like a throwaway line, you know, like a quick gag or something.
probably, yeah. Fair, man. It's something I actually am quite curious to look into when it comes out. I might actually like watch, just see, because I'm a weeb, and I'll be like, okay, cool, let's just see.
Despite what we said,
Mm.
I do still kind of look forward to Treehouse of Horrors because I think they're like, it's a nice little break, you know, from everything else The Simpsons is.
The one thing I was surprised by is how I didn't realize they did one every single season. That is commitment as well, because you know, like
Well, I mean, besides season 1, but pretty much after that, yeah.
but yeah, like from there, like every single season from it, like that's commitment. Because sometimes you might think like, okay, cool, like the joke's done at the moment, we can just not do another Treehouse of Horror. Like, granted, yeah, it's, as I said before, 30 episodes of it. Like that's 30 consistent themes, and like to keep on going with it, fair play. Like if it works them or whatever, yeah. Fair. I was just surprised at how many, like, there was one every single season. That's what caught me off guard.
I actually do think it's because, like, after a while, people come to expect them, but also, like, it's something to get excited about in each season, you know what I mean? Like, because there's no overarching story or anything, but it's just like, you know for a fact the Treehouse of Horrors is going to be completely different than the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And I think that's just why it's something to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, I can understand that.
Because, I mean, like, how many other cartoons can you say will definitely always have a parody episode every season?
That's it, innit? Like, you can't you can't say, because I think most that have tried have just given up like halfway through, or like they've just been, okay, cool, we've run the joke dry or whatever. But yeah, they just keep doing it, and I don't mind, fair play. I don't watch this show anymore, so
Yeah, I mean, I don't watch the show like as consistently anymore. I might drop in every now and again or watch the odd bit here and there on, you know, Disney Plus, but I think it'd be a sad day if they just were like, yeah, we're not doing Treehouse of Horror anymore.
Yeah, I think it'd be a sad day when they just like, I mean, I say sad day, like when they just end The Simpsons completely.
Yeah.
Because realistically, I think like people were saying 10 years ago that, okay, cool, it's just kind of run dry. And they're still going. Like people always say, oh, Simpsons is cancelled or whatever. And like realistically, they just haven't renewed the contract, and then they do renew the contract. Like it's just it's one of those things. And yeah, bro, like that's all I can really say on it, really. Like,
yeah. I don't think there's
is there exists, and if it disappears, I have no hard feelings. But if it keeps going, I have no hard feelings. So it's just one of those things. Because I don't watch it, I don't really have an opinion right now.
Yeah, that's it, innit? It's just one of those things. It's there until it's not.
Yeah,
you don't always think about it, but at the same time, it's like, well, whatever's in it. Like, even the sad thing is, like, I don't want to be like, oh, The Simpsons should end, but should it ever end? You've got so much content there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There is decades of content there. So it's not like you won't ever be able to see it again.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as we said, the whole Simpsons library is on Disney Plus, and the fact you can watch all of that is absolutely absurd. Like every single season's on there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like if it did end, you know for a fact you still got like hours and hours of content just there.
Well,
like,
yeah, it would just live on the same way that any of these old TV shows that ended ages ago, people watch again. You know, like people watch American Office, like Friends, Scrubs, like all those shows. The Simpsons have just become like that.
Yeah.
And it'll be syndicated forever anyway, let's face it, right? Even if it ended, it'll syndicate on TV until somebody doesn't want to do that anymore. But yeah, I think this is probably the end of the episode, because now we're not even talking about Treehouse of Horrors. We're just talking about the potential horror of the entire series ending. So
yeah, absolutely.
So before we end it, is there anything else you wanna quickly chuck in there, Pep? Any other like episode part or whatever you just remembered?
Nah, I think I'm like run dry of all my favorites. Oh wait, no, one more. There's one more. It's in the first Treehouse of Horror, and it's just like it's one of the first lines ever in like the Treehouse Horror episodes. And like, oh, Mr. Burns has invited us to his mansion in Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
Like it set a good standard, and that's like the first line in one of the Treehouse Horrors, and it just set the tone from there. But yes, nice one. Thank you guys for listening. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Find us on all podcast platforms. Links are in the description, and we'll see you next time for another Spooktober episode. Ooh, bye.
Bye.